My daughter called me petty because I didn't want her mother's former affair partner at her wedding. After that, I walked away from her life and never looked back. I never imagined I'd be the villain in my daughter's story. Her name is Leia. She's 27 now, brilliant, beautiful, strong-willed, just like her mother. After the divorce, I was the one who raised her mostly on my own. Her mom, Diane, was barely around, always figuring herself out. I later learned that meant she was cheating while I was working back-to-back shifts to keep our household running. Diane and I had been married for 12 years. I thought we were solid. I wasn't flashy, but I was dependable, a husband, a father, a provider. Then one night, when Leia was 10, everything changed. She was working on a solar system project for school. I went out to the garage to get glue and accidentally picked up Diane's phone instead of mine. A message popped up that made my blood run cold. I missed last night already. Wish you were in my bed again. Red Art. Travis. Travis was a friend. My friend. We'd worked together years earlier, and he'd become part of our circle. He came over for dinner, joined our cookouts, played chess with me in the living room. I even drove him to the hospital when his mother passed. All the while, he was sneaking around with my wife. I didn't confront Diane right then. I couldn't. I just stood there staring at that message while my daughter called for help gluing Jupiter to her model. Within a week, I filed for divorce. No drama, no yelling, just clean and quiet. Diane tried to make it sound like we had simply drifted apart. I didn't correct her for Leia's sake. I didn't want her caught in the crossfire. Diane moved in with Travis before the ink was dry on the divorce. That was 17 years ago. Through it all, I stayed respectful for my daughter. I was there for every school event, every birthday, every time she scraped her knee or needed help with homework. When she got into her top choice college, she called me before telling anyone else. That moment meant the world to me. So when Leia called me recently, bubbling with excitement about her wedding, I was genuinely happy. She told me she'd met a man named Jonah, kind, respectful, dependable. Like you, Dad, she said. My heart swelled. She asked me to walk her down the aisle. I told her I'd be honored. Then she paused. There's something else, she said. Travis is going to be there. I want him to come. Travis, the man who helped tear our family apart. She said he'd been a part of her life for a long time, that she didn't want drama at her wedding. I asked if she was really expecting me to sit in the same pew as the man who helped destroy my marriage. She got defensive. It's my day. Travis isn't your enemy anymore, is he? I didn't scream or curse. I just told her calmly that I couldn't do it. I wouldn't sit there and pretend everything was fine. And then she said it. You're being petty. Not hurt, not upset. Petty. That word cut deeper than anything. I told her I hoped the wedding was everything she wanted. I wished her happiness with Jonah, but I wouldn't be attending. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. There was just a cold, dismissive suit yourself, and the call ended. That was 6 months ago. The wedding happened. I saw photos online, mutual friends, distant family. Diane dressed in a bright, eye-catching white gown like she wasn't the mother of the bride but the star. Travis stood proudly beside her, hand in hand, like nothing had ever happened. And Leia, my daughter, was walking down the aisle with him by her side. It felt like I had died, or worse, like I never mattered in the first place. 2 weeks later, I packed away all the old photos of her childhood, not out of anger but out of grief. I couldn't keep looking at those memories knowing she had erased what they meant. She left me a voicemail around Christmas. I listened to the first sentence, I hope you can move past, and then deleted it. And then last week someone knocked at my door. It was Diane. She looked older, more worn down than I'd ever seen her. I didn't invite her in. She didn't ask. She just stood there and said she didn't know. Didn't know what? She thought I had left her because we'd fallen out of love. She had no idea I knew about the affair. I had never told her. Apparently, she and Travis had a fight recently, and during the argument, he confessed everything. How they'd started sleeping together while she was still married to me. How he used to come over when I was working night shifts. Diane said she felt like a fool. She's furious now. She's left him, cut him off completely. She says Leia moved out of state with Jonah last week, and now Diane wants to talk. She says she finally sees what she did to me, that maybe she misjudged me all those years ago. I said nothing, because after everything, what is there left to say? I nodded more to myself than to Diane and said quietly, I wish her well, but I'm done. Diane's face shifted, surprised. She's your daughter, she said gently. She was, I replied, and I loved her enough to let her believe the best of you. I carried that weight for 17 years, so she could feel like she had two parents who loved her. But when she chose them over me, knowing I'd been the one who showed up, she made her choice. I closed the door before Diane could say anything more. Not every story ends with a dramatic scene or a tidy conclusion. Some end in silence, with the kind of truth that doesn't need to shout. Love, despite what people say, isn't always enough. Not when trust has been torn apart. I didn't leave out of anger. I walked away because I finally understood something hard. Sometimes the very people we suffer for end up choosing the ones who cause the pain. And I wasn't going to sit in that front row and smile like none of it ever happened. That was the day I let go. And from that day on, I didn't look back. About 6 months later, a letter arrived. Not a text, not an email. An actual handwritten letter in a plain white envelope. No return address, but I knew that handwriting instantly. It was Leia's. The same looping cursive she used on Father's Day card she made in 3rd grade, where she spelled hero as harrow. I still have that card somewhere. I didn't open the letter right away. It sat on the kitchen table for 3 days. I moved it around like it was fragile or dangerous, like it might explode with everything unsaid. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I was scared she'd try to rewrite the past and make it neat when it never was. But one night, I poured myself a bourbon, sat down, and read, Dad, I don't know how to start this except to say I was wrong. So wrong. I've thought about that call every day. The word petty makes me sick now. I don't even know why I said it. Maybe I was trying to protect something, my illusion of a perfect day, maybe, or my own denial. You were always there. Always. When Mom missed my piano recital, you were the one clapping in the front row. When I was scared to take my driving test, you spent hours with me in parking lots cheering me on. When Jonah and I had our first real fight, and I called you sobbing at 2 a.m., you picked up without hesitation. And when I told you I was getting married, your voice cracked with pride. I should have realized then. I thought Travis was just some random part of the past. I didn't know. Mom made it sound like your marriage just fell apart, like things drifted. She never told me about the affair. Not until much later, when things with Travis started to crack, and he got cruel, angry. He said things that made me feel sick. He told me things he had no right to know. And in those moments, I saw it. I saw what you had swallowed all those years. You never painted Mom as the villain. You let me love her without burden. You gave me that. You never asked me to choose. But when I invited you to sit next to him, to be near the man who had betrayed you, I forced your hand. I made you choose. And I chose wrong. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know, I see it now, all of it, and I'm sorry it took me this long. I love you, Dad. If there's still a way back, I'll wait for it. Leia, I cried. I hadn't cried during the divorce. I didn't cry when I saw her wedding photos. But this letter broke something open in me. I cried for the little girl who thought her science project was more important than the cracks spreading through her parents' marriage. I cried for the man who stayed silent so she could love freely. And I cried for the father who didn't know if he'd ever hear his daughter say, I love you, again without bitterness. But I didn't call her, not right away. I needed time to sit with it, to figure out whether I was ready to open that door again or just peek through the window for a while. 3 months later, I was at the hardware store buying paint for the guest room, one I hadn't used in years. A little girl wandered past me, dragging a stuffed tiger, and asking her dad why paint had eggshell if it wasn't made of eggs. I smiled, remembering Leia at that age. And then I heard it, Dad. I turned. There she was. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, a grocery bag dangling from one hand. That same nervous lip, like she used to do when she knew she was in trouble, but hoped to get away with it. She didn't say another word, just stood there like she was bracing herself for something. I opened my arms. She dropped the bag, and we stood in the middle of aisle 17, between cans of primer and paint thinner, crying like two people who'd finally stumbled back to each other after getting lost. We didn't fix everything with one hug. Healing doesn't work like that. But we met for coffee the next day. And the next week, we talked, we argued, we slowly rebuilt what had been broken. I told her everything, not out of revenge, but because she deserved the whole story. Finally, without filters, she's in therapy now. Real therapy, the kind that helps her pick through the rubble we left behind. And she's expecting a baby girl. She asked me to be part of her life, not just as a grandfather, but as a kind of father she hopes to model for her child. I said yes, because love doesn't mean forgetting what hurt. Sometimes it means facing it together, if both people are willing to bleed a little to find their way back. So no, I didn't look back the day I shut the door, but I did leave the porch light on. And eventually, she found her way